Welcome. I'm Mia. I'm so happy you're here with us. I'm really stoked to have Jaguar Woman here with me today. Hello, Jaguar. Thanks for coming. Jaguar. Jaguar is like how would I describe you? Kind of like she's a modern mystic. She's a poet. She walks between worlds. She died and she came back to tell the story. She has so much medicine. She works with the plants. She works with women and womb steaming and so much more. I'll hand it over to you, Jaguar, to just give a little bit of an intro about you and your work and whatever you feel called to share, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Well, I always like making up names for like what the spaces, that you're holding in the world, especially when you're a person who's essentially just here being yourself. And it's so unique. Kind of, this is our tribe. We were just talking about Mercado people are my people. I think it's like artist, alchemist energy that we're like walking. And the artistic part is not only what we're offering that we have like an abundance exchange for. This is how I describe the whole Mercado tribe and myself. And it's just like naturally what we do. And then from that, spirit sends us like others who might want this thing. So that's like that artist, creator, craft energy of Mercado, which I feel I have in my heart. I've been working a lot with my making clay womb steam bowls here in Oaxaca with Oaxaca clay, and like really feeling my creative energy. And then that alchemist energy of being the inquisitive spiritual seeker who's looking for the other narrative underneath what's being told to us, the alchemist in that way. And then also like transmuting and processing this information to create a beautiful soup. Like alchemist artist in that way.
Well, isn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. I was. Isn't it interesting that so many mystics are poets? Or are all mystics poets? Or all poets mystics? I mean, and it's kind of what you're talking about. But that's the thing. Yeah.
My master's degree is in poetry. So like prior even to dying and coming back, poet is like first definition of self. Like I'm a poet. I'm a poetess. That's definitely something like to take the language and break it apart into newness and rebirth it into something, that's that poet energy. And I think when you start tapping into spirit, shit gets poetic because when you're channeling, anyone who's ever channeled, it's a poem coming out because it's receiving information that can't be encompassed by the language, the a, e, I, o, u that we've created now. So we have to like try to like melt it down and offer it in a new way to like get the energetic frequency transmission across. And then that's poetry. So
yes. No, totally. It's like you're channeling frequencies, you're channeling emotions, feelings. It's so much complexity, and how do we even find the language for that? It makes total sense. Yes.
We're all poets. It's good. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean the main focus, what's become like a main focus of my work is womb steaming, which is working with womb carriers and working with the herbs of the earth and some salt in a bowl, some water, and really cleansing out your body, mind, and spirit in that way. And it's something that it's like I learned that from my grandmas. You know this already about me, but it's just something ancestral. It wasn't like, oh, I wanted to switch careers and then start teaching women about vaginal steaming. That never happened mentally in my mind. So it's been more of a journey where you're just like spirit, you do like one thing, then an opportunity comes up over here. And then next thing you know, you look back and you've created something. That's how I see the womb steaming, because it's feeling so all encompassing, but I don't ever remember being like, I'm going to just steam wombs. Like never.
It's like it's like the poetry. It's kind of like a distillation of your medicine, and it kind of like comes through for each human kind of in a unique way. And I love that. That's your medicine. The magic of the plants and the frequencies. It's frequency medicine, really.
It's in there. And then, I call my recipes plant medicine potion poems, because that's how they kind of, and prior to the car accident that we keep referring to, which actually was in 2010, It was so long ago. In linear time, it was long ago. It still feels really potent and present. I was just talking to my mom because I've been saying for the past 13 years, like, as soon as I wake up, I have that feeling again. It's like, where am I? Restart, reboot, come down from the astral into. And until I've gotten to this house in Oaxaca, which is, there's a lot of layers and symbiotic dynamics between me and this house. But it's the lighthouse, like the house I was seeing in my mind where I would do this work that I thought was going to come in my life right away, come to my life. Its name is La Casa de Luz. You know, in Mexico, houses always have a name. So this house is called La Casa de Luz, and it was built by a really magical man who is a psychiatrist. He's like a doctor, and he's a psychiatrist, but he's the son of a super bruja medicine woman, which is something you can find in Oaxaca. So he was talking to me the other day, and he was saying, yeah, it's like, I think I went into psychiatry because I just wanted to understand like my mom and like juju and her magic, but I wanted to do it in this solid way. Which is one of the reasons I like living in Oaxaca. It's just still
alive. Like it's alive. The magic is more alive there. The animism, it's like closer to the surface.
Yes. Animism is 100% alive in like
in Mexico.
Yeah, that's like,
it's so perfect for you too, because I just got like, well, you know, of course you're working with the womb steam because you're walked between worlds. You know, the womb is a portal. It's quite literally a portal between the worlds. So you're working with that magic. You've been to the other side and you've come back. And so, you know, I like to call you like you're like a new earth midwife, right? And that's
I like when you call me that. I do like I'll take it.
I mean, and you know, the new earth, whatever you want to call it, it's like we are in it. I believe we're in a great transition, and it's been greatly prophesized by so many. And you know, with that magic, it's like you kind of get energetically that this process, this birth process, which is like messy and but also beautiful, and that's your magic.
Yeah, I think that's why we resonate, or not only that, but I resonate with so many things about you, and I love you so much, and admire and respect and just love all that you birth and curate out into the world. So I'm always just down to participate. But I feel this soul family energy between us, and it's really, when I'm like the Mercado people, it's a way of viewing reality and the path, that which is what I feel we share. It's like something really specific. It's a combination of, because there's the tribes who are like really like deep in the injustices and like the horror, and it's this, and that's not our frequency. Then there's also the frequency that's fully what people call bypassed it, and it's like doop-de-doo, and just I'm having a good day, so everybody's having a good day, and that's not it either. But it's this alchemy. I call it the alchemist. It's the combo of like, yes, that's over there, and also I am over here, and my own energetic like reality that I am calling into being is so grounded in mother, so rooted in mother, and so established in the sky of my crown, that like I'm just bringing this new earth to whatever it is that's happening, which is why we're not going to be like pulled left and right with whatever war is happening at that time. There'll, like, so far in history, always been one. We're holding space for a reality where we can synchronize as a collective, as a human collective, which, you know, we can do if we get to the place where it's possible for our brains to do that, which is what I feel humanity like in the yoga stretch. And then they're like, yeah, they're like, bring it through. And when you're like, I can't hold anymore, it's like, hold the plank 1 second. Like, it's like, hold your plank.
Yeah, no, it's like this distilling, I love the word transmutation. I think from the beginning, it's what my connection initially, one of them with Carly was, who we started Mercado Scrubber together. It's a transmutation. It's not seeing it. It's like, oh, we see the shadows. Oh, we feel very deeply. I know you do too. It's like the deepest of holding of all of that stuff, but then being able to like, transmute it into beauty and pull through this vision and ground what we are birthing and what we want to see, and putting the energy there as the point of power and the moment in the present in the point of power. That's like our the medicine.
Which I think is why there's this artistic creative energy to it, because you have to transmute it somehow. So if you're fully acknowledging it, and this is why people take the safe path of just being like, I'm going to block it all and then I'm just going to be focusing on my spiritual path, which is really, the danger in doing that is no evolution really can happen without you. It's like Abraham Hicks, then they talk about life is a buffet. So it's, to me, like, the buffet is like laid out on the table, and then they're like, spirits like, make a recipe. So if you like ignore all of the vegetables and fruits on the table and just start like boiling water over here, it's like you've just ignored all of the elements in the soup. Like, we judge them. To me, it's like to look at all of these elements we've been given with a release of judgment. These are the elements in the soup that have been given to us to transmute, you know? We then take it up, but we have to like take them and work with that, and then create an output that's based in beauty, although it was within it is this like shadow energy, and we're like, bah, 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 bah. And in the poetry of it, or the creation of the flowy, like the beauty way of the mother, it transmutes into something valuable. But I don't think we can ignore the art. It's like an artistic constraint. It's really not to be alarmed, you know? It's just like Spirit was like, so we have this, you're gonna have a pinch of this and some of this. This is like a lot of cooking shows like this. It's like, my mom loves that one, Chopped or whatever, where they give you a box and then there's random shit in the box and you have to cook a meal. She likes watching shows like that. So to me, that's reality. It's like, this is the box, like, make something delicious. There's a little bit of this in there and a little bit of this, you know? Yeah. I don't know.
This is what you got, and what you can make with it. You get to decide. We decide because, as I know you believe too, we are actually creator beings. We all have the divine spark within us, and we are acting. We are not maybe the great, all of us together God, but we are acting in that spirit of creating through these vessels in this now moment. So what do we want to do with that? We get to decide. But we add to the soup what the soup turns into, right? I want to read this. I want to read this thing that I feel like it's exactly what we're already talking about, of course, but I woke up with it kind of in my head, and I posted it yesterday, and it's from this guy that on Telegram, who I think is great, Drew. And he always just shares a lot of beautiful musings, and it's kind of just what we're talking about. It's pretty short, but he says, nothing from the old will be the same. There is no going back to their normal. Everything is changing. Those that are willing to change their old and upgrade to their highest version are going through their own distillation process. Those that are not ready to change will magnetize and transition into another resonating timeline. The ending, which is really a beginning, is not for everyone. Welcome to the new here and now.
Yes. I love welcome to the new here and now. That gave me little booby tingles. That's good.
Yeah. It is like, I wanted to talk to you about this because there's such a current of, we hear it all the time. It's like apocalypse, culture or whatever, but it's like, what does that really mean? It's like something is dying, but what is dying, and what's being born? And also really what that really was meant to mean is the revealing of things. So maybe, and this is kind of my take, is that some things are going away, But what if it's a lot of things that we're going to be really happy about going away that are dying, and the new that's coming in, and what's being revealed is going to help us, birth this new beautiful paradigm.
We
And it's
live in
very,
a cyclical, sorry, Boo.
no,
You were,
go for it. I was just say it's biblical, it is in a sense.
we live in a cyclical reality. It's like nature, alchemy, nature, cycles, life, all of that. We live in a cyclical, like the spiral is the root of all things.
Mhm.
Because of this, Ernest Becker, who wrote The Fear of Death, it's like a philosophical book that talks about the fear of death as the basis of marketing, like, and they're
Mhm.
showing you like, she's like really young, she's in a bikini, she's young, she's drinking a beer. It's like, that's appealing to your fear of death inside, all of this that we've gone into like a hyperbole. We began in that way, and that's how this shift happened to what feels like an unbalanced, to not whatever, but other words, but like masculine, feminine of definition of energies, or just of like a spiral versus a line, of like a cycle versus something linear. I feel like both of those energies are happening. A spiral is a series of very little like straight lines that are going around in a circle. So it's not like there's not one in the other. But this is what we're healing, is the fear of death itself. The whole notion of an apocalypse is rooted in that very like fear of death narrative. Like, what could possibly be an apocalypse? Of course not. Like, nature renews herself. Like, I think nature, she is self-renewing, and from death always are born other things. When you look at the natural world, you and I always talk about this, the organic world. This is how I should say it, because this is the real battle to me. Like, I am where I'll be like fists up, is to get into like the fight for the organic, like raw, wild, organic, authentic reality. Not that I don't, we're like having this technological exchange. So it's not like we reject it all. I'm not like full Luddites, but I feel I'm here to be an advocate for the organic way, which is the way of death and rebirth and renewal without fear, and death as a foundation for another birth, which is what the womb steaming even is. I talk about on a cellular level, we know this now. On a cellular level, I'm alive inside my mom when she's alive inside her mom, who was on a cellular level alive inside my great grandma when she was inside my great great grandma. What we do know, separate from any religious belief system or creed or color, is that our grandmothers died, they decomposed, they went into the earth. What we do know and can agree scientifically, plants are coming up out of the earth, same earth. Like, it's now yarrow, mugwort, motherwort, calendula, roses. So it makes sense to me. We can like integrate with the same medicines, which to me, medicines are like the electrical, alchemical frequencies, messages, voices of the plants, which contain my grandmother. So there is like an ancestral, cyclical, inherent acknowledgement of the death and rebirth cycle in doing like the womb steam practice, or engaging with plants that you've grown yourself and then you're eating them, or even for the non-vegan tribe, people who eat meat, and like the way that was respectful to eat meat was to kill the animal, right? And then take from it in a really intentional way the life force from its sacrifice into your body, which you would then make balance like in your own ceremony and ritualistic way of living. There's like constant like death, sacrifice, and renewal. And when we live organically with nature, I feel it's inherent and we understand that. I almost want to find this. I posted it a while ago, but it was saying, I won't find it right now, but apocalypse is it was a quote from somebody else. So I wanted to like accurately, but it was like, apocalypse, the whole notion of is created by, I don't love the word patriarchal energies, because then matriarchal is a positive, and then we've defined patriarchal as a shadow, which is inherently creating an imbalance. So it's something that we need to look at as a culture. But from this fear of ending is that this apocalypse mythology has then seeped into all like our cultural mythos. So it's in like books and it's in film. And right now the cycle, we don't really know anymore because we're so deep in it. It's like so many movies are like feeding these ideas into our
Well,
mind. And yeah.
yeah, and it was I was saying it's a point of no, I agree. It's like a point of division. It's how they've, it's easy to control when people are in fear. And when you have that fear of death and you're constantly highlighting it and triggering people, then you're easily
Yes.
controlled, manipulated. And so it's like, that's exactly what you're saying is like, to me, that's what's dying because of the realization that we are eternal beings and we are creator beings and we are like way more powerful than we ever knew because, the powers that sort of I will say not are even now, they didn't want us to know that. They wouldn't want us to embody that. So it's like, that's why I'm so excited about this time, because I feel like once everybody really gets that, then everything you're talking about, that fear, I mean, it's going to dissipate, because once you don't have that, once you realize like, oh, like death is just stepping into another room, energy doesn't die, energy isn't free, we're all energetic beings, we're all creating our reality personally and together. I mean, that's so expansive. There's really like no room for fear in that paradigm. It's just
the book I cited, it's The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. So I said it was The Fear of Death, but it's called The Denial of Death. And my academic in me wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. So I talk a lot about in the same getting into the spiral energy of things and not feeling so linear. I like to always I also talk about or view life a lot like this cauldron where you can't take anything out of the soup. So you just have to, it's kind of similar analogy. So you could be like balancing the flavors alchemically. So it was like, oh, it got a little too sweet over there. We're going to like add some lemon rind to like bring it back into yumminess in your mouth. I think of life a little bit in that way. So we just are given what we're given and we're curating it. And it's like something cyclical. So we're not like running to like leap off this cliff into nothingness, which is what that fear of death energy feels like to me. And if we can, even in the little tiny moments in our lives, like feel the cyclical nature, just feeling all the little deaths and little rebirths that are happening all the time in your house plants. A leaf is falling and another is blooming. So even if you can't quit everything, go live in your van in the fields, it's like open your body, mind, and your perspective to embracing the cyclical nature of reality all around you right now. So many things are dying and being born, and it's beautiful. And then kind of like tune in, because the laws of the universe don't change because we're freaking out. We need to maintain the same principles. Tune in to what you're wanting to see, not to what you're wanting. Whatever you're tuning into will perpetuate and grow with the prana shakti that you're feeding it. So we need to like tune in to the moments, the energies that we're wanting to grow. A really good one I like to always suggest is tune in to the beautiful little moments of death that are all around you and that are blossoming into new life. Just your little plant pot in the window. There's been death and rebirth so many times, and that is how the plant has grown.
Right. Yeah. And in that, like, I know I saw you, I think you posted something by Barbara Marciniak this week, and I many of you probably love her too. If you don't, she's great. Bringers of the Dawn. She wrote a ton of books, and they're so potent and very much about this time. And she really talks about how it's all like contrast is for our growth too. So like to just deeply understand and honor what you're talking about, Jaguar, and then to really at the deepest level, and of course it's not like to not be emotional about things or be like we're humans having this experience, but also just to remember like that actually that contrast is how we grow. If we didn't have it, it wouldn't propel us to what we do really deeply desire and want to create. It's like a catalyst. And
yes, I feel strongly about the part, I like that you said it's not that we don't have emotions, because I think that's a little area where we can get a little bit confused as well, which is what creates this kind of denial of what's happening vibe. But the transfiguration, transmutation is through the hormonal frequencies that are happening when what we're calling an emotion is moving through us. So it's super important to see it. Yeah, to feel like the feelings.
Yeah.
Your tears drop to the earth, like let your humanity blossom. And then from that, you know, something new, like you take action, but we can't skip. I think it's a fear of feeling why we will like look away.
You're right. It's through the emotions, right? It's actually, you're right. It's actually super important. The emotions are like everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. And I think, we've just been given all these hierarchical notions of what, you know, so I'm someone, we talked about my traumatic head injury and my near-death experience, which was a death experience, but we call it a near-death experience, which is like a whole other thing. But, so I've been deeply, like I've tried to take my own life. I've been in mental institutions, like all these things, especially after coming back from the death, which felt so wonderful. And I was just trying to get back into that state. So it's like when we get into emotions and like feeling anxieties or just being neurodivergent, really like feeling life, I can identify and give myself a lot of different categories of like things if I wanted to, and have been given many. But what I reject is any type of hierarchy of what these feelings are and mean. It's like, I think there's an alignment to your emotions that makes them in balance. But I think we are in society a bit addicted to certain ones to the point where we've literally with drugs eliminated others that are necessary for the collective processing. So I feel like part of why it's like you unbound it over here and it'll be like an explosion over there. So part of all this like numbing our emotions and brains so we can do the 9-to-5 job or like do whatever it is that we think we need to do. It's we need to get, now they're all stopped up. We need to like get those emotions out. We're like addicted to just being happy, just like, are you happy and like ready to go? Well, you don't need to be like that all the time. You just need to be in alignment with whatever incoming information is happening so we can get like,
it's like surrender to that. That's so important. No, it's so important. It's to be able to just let ourselves feel what comes through and also what comes in. And I know I'll mention, you know, Keone Hanale, who I adore and we've worked with, and I know you've worked with him too. I mean, it's all, and I feel his work is so important right now too, because it's all about the emotions and emotional intelligence, and his work is with the ferns. And in that paradigm of his lineage, each fern carries a different emotion, and the totality of those emotions is aloha, which is the divine spark within.
The first time I heard that, but it's like it hits me every time.
Right? It's love. So it's like, wow. I mean, just to sit with that, it's everything you're saying. And it's just to allow ourselves that space to really slow down and not be afraid to feel, because through that feeling, that's the medicine. That's how we connect to each other, to the earth, to our creative potentials, are creating. And you're right. It's been, they really wanted to suppress that in us. And many of us have been, like you're saying, you know, the psychiatric industry wants to categorize all these things, when in reality, like, we are meant to be feeling all of these wild emotions, and it helps us to, it's who we are as humans. And that's the same thing that's happened to me when I was young. You know, they want to put you in a box, they want to put you on these different drugs. And I think it's like a time that we kind of start talking about this more and realize the magic within all of that, that emotion, and kind of just start having this conversation, thinking about it differently.
Yeah. It's like, well, think about your emotions. You really actually, and the part that how I articulate this concept of what I feel is an unbalance is just like saying this one emotion is okay, where it's like happy, bubbly, productive. These other ones not okay, like laying in your bathtub, crying, smoking a joint. Okay, but like really all we want is like my whole personality in a nutshell. But no, Like really, we want to be, when something is, you know, quote unquote, right, it's when you're in alignment with what's around you. Just to give an obvious example, you're at a funeral, and if you're like, then it's like, oh, this person is out of balance with, you know, the homeostasis of the now. Like this isn't okay. And if you're in a mourning, a grief ceremony, then yes, it is appropriate then to like, right? And so when I look around, it's like that is what is helping to transmute and move the movement forward and bring it into alignment. And that's what, you know, is the beauty way. Malidoma Somé has a really great book, Rituals, which talks about traditional African rituals from his perspective. And one of the powerful ones that really always stuck with me is the importance of like honoring death and like the death rituals and grieving and what it does for the whole community, and how this concept of like the designated grievers, those within the community who just know how to grieve, which is like, you know, the empaths, we feel in it, like we know how to do it. And then I combine it with this concept of being in alignment with what is happening in the rest of the cauldron, like in the collective consciousness. Well, feels like we're in a grieving, really like howling mourning period. So this is the time to understand how to let those emotions out. We are at the process, you know, the phase where it's like, oh, where are the grievers? We need them howling in the streets, throwing rose petals. It's like, you know,
Yeah, because if we don't feel those feelings, they can turn into, well, dis-ease, dissonance in
they
a lot of
will
ways.
turn into disease. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so important, and you're right, because of this, what I see is kind of the death of, a lot is dying right now. A lot of the old ways, a lot whatever is not in harmony with this higher frequencies is falling away. But you know, that doesn't mean like a lot of that stuff isn't hard for us to let go of, or causing a lot of chaos, or there's a lot of grieving, right? Even some of the things, you know, they might not be in harmony, but they, with this new way, but maybe we're emotionally attached to them. I'm trying to think of a good example, but it could be like, you know, certain kinds of technology things, or just things that have brought us ease, but maybe what they came with a cost, you know. But like, yeah, that it's really a time to feel all of that and grieve it and not judge it, just kind of be with those feelings, right?
And seeing the importance of, like you said, we're here to transmute and to be in alignment, you know, with what is happening. This is how we know what is needing to get transmuted from what to what and how. And then, yes, we've established that the emotions are these like electrical currents and frequencies, hormonal energies that are doing this magical transmuting of like what's coming in and like what's going out. And my tears are falling to Mother Earth, and they're watering this little seed, and it's like coming up in a little flower. And then I'm like putting the flower into my tea, and then I'm like sipping the flower, you know, and it's all, we can't skip part of the process and get to the other side. It happens from like moving through it. So it's time to feel. We're really numbed. So to make everything about vaginal steams, like really often women will tell me, so we'll do an assessment, she'll do her steam, and then she'll be like, well, it was ice steam, but like it wasn't even hot. So you know, you're going to put the water into the bowl, peak of boil, when it's like bubbling boil. And you put your salt, you've done your thing, you put it, and you're going to squat down over. Really common when it's your first time, you're just coming to it. They'll say, well, Jaguar, in the follow-up session, I did it, but like it didn't even feel hot. I didn't feel anything, blah, blah, blah. We're numb. We're in our most nuanced, soft feeling spaces. We can't even tell it's boiling water. So I always tell them, feel it or not, you just keep your little poom poom a certain distance above the bowl, because she is getting burned. Like you still need to, like, you need to acknowledge that you've numbed your body from being able to like feel what it needs to feel. There's a whole movement of numbing. What we get fed most is like other additional ways to numb ourselves. So now we come and face these horrors, and we're just numbed out. And what is needed between the horror and your heart to bring transmute into balance is for you to grieve, yes, to like see it and say like, oh, ah, and something happens from that. Something happens from that. It's visceral, and it can be felt, and it's cyclical, and it's raw. I think another theme I notice is everything getting really like cleaned up and like refined down. So everything is just a copy, like artistically and like TV shows. It's just really even more now, this like authentic, any raw, authentic voice is what really will pierce through this homogenous, like numbing energy that's being fed to us, you know? They want us to end up in these
Yeah.
films where we're just eating the same thing in a box and
Well,
wearing a uniform.
I mean, that's so important, and just like pause on too, because like obviously like they, and it's not to take our, give our power away, because we are powerful, but it's to start the part of the, apocalypse energy is seeing what's really going on. How's my energy being used? How am I using my energy? Does it feel in alignment? Does it feel good? And a lot of these, the media has been purposefully created to use our emotional energy to create someone else's, their ideal vision, which that
Yes.
is not my vision. What that vision was, that's not my vision, because that, I would say, more of is a dystopian vision. And so I reject that. And years back, when I kind of came to some of these realizations about what was going on in this realm, I decided, okay, I'm going to be much more discerning about what I'm going to consume, like in every way. It's part of Mercado Sagrado. It's like, what do I want to consume? Like visually, what do I want to listen to? What words? Because they're all frequencies, and everything can be medicine, or it can be healing or harming, right? So to really like pay attention to what is in these shows. And some, I think there are now starting to be more positive, I'll call it kind of positive programming out there. I watched a really interesting, I don't know, Jaguar show that Honey Golden mentioned to watch, and it's called The Gift, and it's like a Turkish show about Göbekli Tepe. Do you see that? I know it's kind of amazing. So now I think there are starting to, because I do think there's a shift happening, and there are good things coming and good things happening. So I feel like there's starting to flip, where there's like positive programming to help us remember who we really are. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to maybe let that in, and some of these other things, maybe that's like, it's like junk food for the soul. I'm not going to do that one, whatever it is.
Key is to know, like you said, okay, so programming can be used to awaken my emotions to create the reality of another. So it's like, okay, so now that you're aware of, it's like to know thyself and what's going on. And then you can decide, how to use it, what you want to see, what you don't want to see, and then use your emotions. But the key part of that is like somebody already knows that it is our emotions that are used to create worlds, So it's like, find the emotions that you're not feeling and then feel into them to dedicate it to this creation of this world that we are all collectively conjuring into being. Like, I feel, yeah, but it seems really, I feel really strongly about that. It's time for a good collective cry, or it's like the time to really get naked on your tummy on the ground and like, like beating the
Yeah.
earth. It's
I mean,
that time.
yeah, because it's a huge, I do think it's a huge collective awakening. And
Yeah.
I feel it, and I'm going through a lot of emotions, but a lot of these deep, dark truths, I'm sure, like you, Jaguar, I really deeply, I awoke to, I don't know, a while, maybe
Long
almost a
ago.
decade ago. And it was tough. And I think that so far, some of us kind of holding these containers and are being like, no, there's light on the other side, you guys. I promise, I see it. It's because you guys, we went through these depths a while
Hold
ago.
the
And it
line.
was
Hold the
hard.
line.
We're like
Yeah.
holding the line, because it was tough, because all of those things that now I feel like everybody is kind of more seeing widely now. Oh yeah, I got it. I'm sure you did too. And it was so difficult to go through that period and feel like alone in that, like no one really saw. So it was a huge dark night of the soul for me. And through that, I got to kind of like, it was the start of what we're talking about now, right? It's like, okay, well, I can choose. What do I want to do with this? Do I want to just lay over, like just die, just okay, leave because it's too much? And I kind of wanted to, but then, you know, I had guidance and realized that it would be much more potent to step into the power of creating through love and
Light
joy.
workers right now, it's like, I know we seem cold, y'all, but it's just because we saw, like, we had this epiphany a little bit ago. So that's why we're like drinking tea and you're like sobbing and breaking down.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like, we had to go through that, I guess now seems clear, so that we could be holding space while you're sobbing and breaking down and discovering about the shadow side and whatever. So, like, that's great. Everybody, we're like spirit was like, I'm just going to stagger it so that one person can be holding space, which is cool. That's how spirit does.
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of a perception. It's like, oh, you don't care, or you're not feeling it, or you're not bawling. It's like, no, no, girl. It's like we feel it, feeling
Yeah,
it,
like,
felt it, feel it. We totally know. It's just yeah, where we're at in that journey of how we want to use our energy and how we're processing it. Yeah.
yeah. We're here to hold you because we already like went to the psych ward about this and came back and then like made the course and stuff. So like, yes, but it's not like not denying where you're at in any way, you know, and not even creating any hierarchy between us, but it's like,
No,
yeah, you know, so yeah.
we're in it all together. Yeah. And it is
Yeah.
a spiral. It's a spiral, even that process, because there are always greater depths to learn too within that
Yeah.
thing.
So
It's still new discoveries.
it's darkest before dawn. And like, I don't think we're at darkest. So I'm just watching things right now.
I
I'm just
don't know.
watching where, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel dawn. Well, I already told you, I had this
Yeah.
epiphany, New Earth landed and it was like 6 months ago. So then this happening now, also just what everything it's not really anything is like happening now. Everything happening now has been happening for a very long time. But the sense of what's happening now in terms of just the stay-at-home mom whose life is focused on like making like a potato smoothie for her 2-year-old every morning is simultaneously really aware of like something happening over there and like the nuances of government and how they're interplaying with like fascist forces and whatever. So that's what's happening now. It's like, you know, whereas before she would just really be living her life and maybe not, she would have to really choose to come into like a barrage of awareness about certain international elite forces of deep darkness, right? But now she's just like, she's trying to make her baby food, right? And simultaneously be like, oh my God, that's happening. So that's what's new about the now moment.
Yes.
Right?
No, you're right. And it looks really well. And I will say, I truly believe, knowing, like we were talking about, knowing the depths of all the things of this realm that we've been living, that we're in, I do personally, when I tune in, I get that it is kind of the darkest of before the dawn, in the sense that like all you're talking about, like we're feeling it all, we're seeing it all. And I do think that there are many other light workers on this here that might be surprising, because not everybody is negative, right? Not even in all these governments and these institutions and blah, 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 right? Like there are people like us in all places that for a long time have been like, we don't want this anymore. And so this is like a long time coming, like the culmination of a lot of emotional manifestation to pop us through this portal into a better, you know, world for all of us. And so I think it looks like extra crazy right now, because it's meant to get us to have these conversations and get us to step into sovereignty and out of, be prepared to walk in a world that doesn't have the hierarchy we've gotten known to. You just mentioned hierarchy. It's like, we're not meant to, we're the energy we're moving into doesn't have that kind of hierarchy. And that means we have to be sovereign, and we have to, when we say something outside, go, what do I actually feel, and think about that, and go inward and connect with whatever you want to call it, your higher self, your, you know, God source, however that works for you, and tune in and really find the answer for us so that we can move.
Yes. I was just watching this Dick Gregory video where he's like, we know that money has no power. We know that education has no power, but we know that information has power. And what it is about information to like keep that power in alignment for you is to process it through your own inner divine intelligence. He was like, you have to have this, like he's saying, each one of us are born with, we come into the world with this inner divine intelligence which you tap into independently on your own, and whatever the information power nuggets that are fed to you, you like run them through your own divine intelligence system, you know, to find what is the truth for you. And that's the thing. But I think that these like meds and things that keep you real happy really do fuck up the divine intelligence computer system situation. It's like, because those emotions that we feel are part of what we're running these information tidbits through. It's like you like take the information, and as it's like running up and down, you'll be like, oh, but I feel kind of like this. Even simple things, you know, when you get really aligned and in tune with your body, you'll be like, or just whoever it is, like, you want to go on a date with me? You're like, you're gorgeous, but I'm feeling kind of something in my belly. So I'm gonna say no, you know?
Yeah, we need to be able to feel. It's our guidance system. So you're exactly right. So if something comes in and I'm like, that makes me kind of feel sick to my stomach, I need to pay attention to that. And that's why it is so important to, and that's why I think the guidance in, books like the Essene Gospels of Peace or whatever, the guidance is kind of to really take care of the vessel and to be as clear as we can be. And it's not, I don't think it's like it's a control or a puritanical thing. It's like, no, I think it's like it's meant to be guidance for how to best live in this realm, how to most be connected, like you said, to our truth, and be able to live our best lives, basically.
Yeah, I think that there is definitely, because there's always a reason why. So you discover like, oh, there's like an attack on our body and our foods, and then like food deserts, and oh my God, and like junk food is bad, and whatever it is. But the flip side of that, it's always one coin. So the flip side of that is the amazing epiphany and understanding about how powerful the knowledge and wisdom of your body is, and how when you like can hear it, you can really just guide yourself through this level of the video game of reality in a way that's really actually more synchronicity based and like ease for in its unfolding. And because a lot of people are like, I'm here, the new earth is coming, new earth. But I'm really like, in terms of, which is why I love when you call me the new earth midwife, because it's like, I'm here for the orgasmic birth of a new earth. So like, I feel like, yes, when you push the baby out, you will often shit, but we need to have all the candles lit. We need to have the honey sticks for when you're getting low in energy. We need to have rose petals in the birthing pool. We need to have, your lovers all around you. It's like, I want the orgasmic birth. So not denying the howling and the crying, but with just, it's going to be curated. It's going to be happening on a bed of roses. There's going to be sunshine. There's going to be the sound of a river. It's like, I just want to bring that energy into this transmutation process. That's that Jaguar mama. That's what I'm here for. I'm just like, release the doves, drop the rose petals. Like, I'm just like, get the oil. Like,
this is like the magic of what we're stepping into, which you could look at it as scary, like, oh God, I got to decide everything. I get to decide what's the best food for me. I get to decide if I'm going to send my kid to a school or homeschool. I get to decide everything. But on the other hand, it's like, I get to decide everything. Like, this is so magical. Like, I get to curate my world however I want it to be, like with the rose petals and all the stuff. And what do I want to spend my energy doing? What is my soul called to do? But I don't think I want to do the 9 to 5 anymore. I want to make magic with my friends, start a new company. You know what I mean? It's like we get to choose, and that's like the cool part of what we're stepping into, is that just empowerment. And like, how much is that better is that going to feel when we're all there? It's just we grew up in this in the Rockefeller yucky school system of like, be a drone, basically learn how to serve, learn how to do as you're told, learn how to spit out this fake history, blah blah blah. So all that's going away, and that's really exciting. Actually,
I grew up in a specific cult where I was homeschooled, but like, yes, we did.
Amazing, and that's part of what the magic you bring.
Yeah, it's I've been thinking about it a lot, because they have definitely, my parents' religion specifically talks about certain things, the prophetess of that religion, Ellen G. White, who channeled all of these books about like diet and health and things on the government, and then the second coming of Christ. And then like, he's always like, oh yeah, I'm with you. Like, oh wait, whoa. But that kind of thing. But what the things that I was raised in that I then left, but that she talks about a lot are, for example, they're like, we need to grow our own food. We shouldn't eat any meats because there's going to become a time when it'll look like a cow, but it won't be a cow. This is like part of what happened, what they talk about in their religion. I
Wow.
was like, these crazy people, but now it's like, oh yeah, mom and dad, you were right about this. And how
Wow.
we should do our best to grow our own food, because even both the animals and the fruits, they will like look like what it is. I remember exactly the phrase, but it's like that something will be happening to make it be deceiving for your eyes, and
Yep.
that you will be taking in ways of control for them to control you, and that we would need to like grow our foods and things ourselves so that we like maintain control of our own body vessel.
And I think we're going to want to be doing that because it's so special. I mean, I will say, I have noticed that, you know, Italy became the first country to say no to all that stuff you're talking about, Jack. So like what you're talking about, the GMO foods or the cloned meat, the all kinds of weird stuff that they're doing. Italy just said, no, we're not doing
They're
any
like,
of that.
food?
No
How dare
fixes.
you come for food? Italy, Italians are
Yeah,
like,
how
oh,
dare
hell
you?
no.
Oh no, this is
How dare
sacred.
you?
And thank you. Thank God, you know. So
Yeah,
like
I
I
love
think
that.
they're leading the way, and also, in Russia, GMOs are already outlawed. So of course, and who does America hate so much? Russia, not that there's not messy stuff, but there is a lot. I think a lot good coming in that way, that I think those things we're going to choose differently. But regardless, like growing our own food is so magical, and that just the process of that, like you're talking about the life and the death, and how that all that energy is in a seed is so special. And I always talk about the Anastasia, the Ringing Cedars books.
Oh,
And
I love those books. Oh.
it's just like, so even if say all that yucky food stuff does go away, it's like I think in this our future we're still gonna just have so much reverence for that process. We're gonna be growing our own food, everybody, like even like a little bit. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think
um
when we start acknowledging, somehow it's like the theme of our chat has been really the power of our emotions and feeling them in our body. It seems like we went in this theme, which is really beautiful. And because I feel when we can really feel our way through things, we also notice the nuance of our emotions, that you can hold many emotions at one time, and it's
mhm.
not really something so cut and dry. This is what we start noticing. Like in woo scene practice, as you're thawing her out and you're like feeling different things, this is part of the lessons that I feel like this process teaches you. But it's really something where, whoa, and expanding our minds to nuance is part of the medicine needed for the now, because we have hypnotized into feeling that there's these sides and that we're like in opposition and everything is in opposition to everything else. So we've lost really understanding subtlety and nuance. I think it's connected to disconnecting from our emotions. When you feel your emotions, you can be like, oh my God, I feel this, but then also I'm crying, but then, oh my God, and then my this. And yes, it's many things inside of the one. And we need to hold that in order to move really in an effective way through this revolutionary transformational process that we're in. That like, okay, on the other side of this horror is a liberation, and that this happens to get to this because we're moving like this, and like within this feeling of what might be have some elements of feeling like apocalyptic and like death and like fear, but like within all of that, I get it now, this is what birth feels like. So okay, so like seeing layers and nuance and things, I'm really about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really think like all of what you talked about, all that's like happening right now. I mean, a part of it is also that we're meant us to push us through this portal of realizing we are all children of the earth. We're all human family. We don't The division thing has been a total program, and we don't need to do that anymore. And I think one thing that I can see happening is all the narratives breaking down. It's kind of like what's the right way? And that's because we're not supposed to be living by any of their narratives. We're supposed to recognize ourselves as children of the earth. We can be unified. We all want the best. And if we want to go to that much higher perspective, spiritual perspective, I mean, do we believe that we have multiple lives? I do. And if that's true, we are eternal beings. Like, we are all characters on a stage. In a sense, we are playing these different roles, but we've been other roles. Like, we all have the good guy and the bad guy in our, probably we played that good guy and the bad guy, and in our lineages we all have the good guy and the bad guy. So to get to that point that we can just see that for what it is and appreciate that it's helping us grow and step.
And to see that it's all very intertwined. And I feel like our past lives are all simultaneously and like concurrent within the cycle, you know? So when we rewrite a story and raise the frequency of a reality, it's like pulling everything up. I really feel it's just like, and all the realities are pulling up. And I think I talk about this a lot too, but I also feel it's important for us in pulling out of these polarities and experiencing like nuance and oneness and a different way of thinking. We also need to see the oneness within the victim and the perpetrator so that we can stop creating these like sides. This is what will lead us to the healing. The victim and the perpetrator were in the same dance. So I'm always like, it's like really, you have to like really sit with it and like really let it like, because it's like, can be like really triggering what I'm saying, but like, yes. So like the one inflicting the crime and the one who has agreed to like play the role of the one having the crime inflicted upon them, and the one who is like watching through the window while it's like, this is one movie line. And what we want to do is rewrite all of these narratives based on polarities and tensions set up in this way between victim and executioner. We can shift that. We can like melt all that down and make new stories. This is what I really feel in my bones. And in order to do that, we need to like really take it ancestrally, travel fearlessly up through the bloodline and find these places where whether it is victim or perpetrator are living, and really see and release it. It's like Ho'oponopono in these time points. We really need to like see all sides. So as opposed to getting locked into these identities that say like, oh, I must have these abusers in my bloodline. And I'm like, oh, I have all this victimhood in my bloodline. It's like everything's happening all at the same time. Y'all are in agreement, soul contracts. And what we want to do is like get rid of all those and create like a whole new storyline with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Release everyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's sit that. That was very powerful. Yeah. I agree. Beautiful. I think if we're gonna wrap it up soon, I feel like I wanted to touch a little bit on what you and I chatted on before we popped on a little bit, because it keeps coming through. And I've heard, I heard someone else talk about it yesterday, and I was like, I think this is like important kind of for the collective right now to remember. And it's just about kind of, and it's a message I've gotten when I was in the real darkness before too, that, joy is medicine. And it's okay to guide yourself to be in that, even at the darkest times. And one way to do that is just, when you're feeling, what am I supposed to do with yourself right now? Or maybe it's like all this upheaval is causing a mass change. Like maybe you don't know if you want to have the same job, you want to make all these life changes. It's just to start with what brings me joy. And this, for me, sometimes it's hard. Like, I don't know, what do I, it's not always even easy to like, to know right away, but just put that question out to yourself and just see what comes through. Because maybe it's, for me yesterday, I was telling Jag, it was like, oh, I haven't really made anything with my hands in a while, and I always used to. So pulling out all my shells, and I'm going to make some jewelry, and that's really, it's just fun. And it's just like a really enjoyable thing. So it's like, I don't know if you want to add to this, but it's like, what do you just like to do? What's just playful, what's joyful, what's fun, what's creative on a simple level?
Just slight rant. It's like seeing the solution to all of this is feeling the interconnectivity between us, because it's not an individualistic joy. When we accept our connection to the collective, then we can be true alchemists, because we will say, oh, too much pain, I must add some joy to the pot. And it's no longer feeling like this is in opposition to that. It's like this, we're all one. It's one big cauldron. So yes, this is definitely the time to add the joy to the pot. This is the flavor that the pot needs. So like, yeah, you know, but I was telling you, I have all my colors. I've been coloring. Same. Today I made these dots.
This is what transmuting actually this is what transmuting looks like for us this week, you guys. It's like Jaguar made a painting, I made some jewelry, we're working with our hands. I worked in the garden with my boyfriend yesterday. That felt
I was in
really
the garden
good
today. Yeah. So yeah, we have to give the pot what it needs, you know? And so it's like, feel it, and nothing is eliminating anything. So you can also be in your deep joy of painting and crying a little tears and having your tea, and then also like chuckling a bit later, and just not feeling this energy of like, this eliminates this and I can't I have to feel the thing, so I can't do my happy place. It's like, okay, we're all connected. What am I feeling in my body? Same. What is my body? My body wants the color. Here come the crayons.
Thank you. Yes, I think that's just a really beautiful place to leave it at, you know, and we can, you know, just laugh at all of it sometimes too. Like, take it all so seriously. It's like this play, you know, we're all parts.
Can you see a thumbs up bubble?
You know, that just showed up. That was
my
amazing.
hands are over here. What? Did you see that? Am I crazy? Saw that? Stop! That was accidentally, the NSA gave a thumbs up to our chat right now. He was like, oh shit, there's somebody in the office that's like, why'd you do that? Like, that's cool.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was the universe being like,
it was like a bubble and then a thumbs up. I don't know if that's gonna be in the recording. I feel like that was too trippy. I felt that in my body.
Yeah, if it doesn't show up, you guys, it was like all of a sudden there was like a little emoji thumbs up. It may show up or not in the recording, I don't know, but I definitely thought, and it was such a point of exclamation. Yes.
Now it's happening again. Okay, that's weird. Okay,
well, maybe you're doing it, but we didn't know how, and it was all to just accentuate that beautiful the beautiful thing that you said.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, question.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Jaguar. It's so fun to have you here. I love you so much. And this was such a joy to have this conversation with you. And if there's anything you want to leave us with, I'll hand it over to you. Otherwise, we will.
I'm good. I could let's see. Some Barbara?
Yes, that's beautiful.
I guess I'll just read the one I just put. Many of you would like to take evil and step on it, destroying it like you would a bug. Squish, smash, be gone into another reality. This practice of eliminating human life because it is perceived as evil does you no good. In the end, your history and experience are filled with war of one kind or another. Humans fighting one another for the right to speak their truth and share their perceptions. And one human or another is always wanting to suppress someone else's ideas, someone else's thinking. The ultimate tyranny in a society is not control by a martial law, but control by the psychological manipulation of your consciousness through which reality is defined, so that those who exist within it do not even realize they are in prison. They do not even realize that there is something outside of where they exist. But chaos brings about a state of reorganization when it is utilized properly. Time is collapsing and the energy is becoming larger and larger. We have come here to use this energy first. We will make pathways of consciousness as we pull the energy into our bodies that will assist others so that they will not have to go through what we are going through. We must learn to end wars in our world by ending them within our own minds.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you, Jaguar. And thanks you guys so much for joining us. Sending you all lots of love. Bye.
Bye.